Thank you. And now's a poem about a slightly different kind of journey. It's called All the Bullets and All the Bombs. The border guards were motionless, staring at the stench of thousands, static in the swirling wind. Machine guns pinned to their hands. The border closed. Closed to the pawns of a war they were never going to win. The pawns who'd survived the fall through the cracks between the blown up schools, battered hospitals and butchered dead. But for all the bullets and all the bombs, the border guards refused to spare a single bullet for his 10-year-old head. He'd been playing with his brother when the aeroplanes came over. The rocks were grenades, their feet tanks, their fingers machine guns. As they prepared to storm the final stronghold and end this brutal war. To end that endless killing so no one had to fight anymore. They ran for cover, but it was too late. A piece of shrapnel right in his forehead. That was his brother's fate, and after all the bullets and all the bombs had rained down on his town, he'd searched and searched every piece of ground, but his mum was nowhere. Nowhere to be found, and when those killers came marching in, he ran and ran for all his life with every other outnumbered. An outgunned member of that human strife, and as the killers killed by night and day. Innocent victims got in the way, that shrapnel lodged inside his head as he wondered if Mum was alive or dead. That life of death lasted weeks of days through waves and waves of blown up faith where no one spoke and no one cried. The spirits dead as the bodies on the roadside, shoeless scraps of human flesh left to the dogs, rats and flies, while gunpowder, blood and disease mixed inside his feet. With every endless mile of this trail of defeat, the planes and vultures, the only things in the sky is all the bullets and all the bombs. Pushed him further away from his crippled street, to where Mum might lay, or Mum might have fled to maybe ahead of him or maybe behind. But with every trudge he tried to find in that scorched bomb song of that endless road of pain where the food and the water and the camps never came. And those enemies that lied within, with their wrong beliefs and their cowardly sin, were slowly being allowed to win. And those foreigners with their shades and their smiles, all they did was help more people die with those terrible things that came out of the sky. But after all the bullets and all the bombs, he couldn't remember before the war. Things Mum said he could look forward to. When the animals survived, the crops still grew, the water was clean, the schools were open, and when you felt warmth, not fear from above. But not even the street lights came on anymore. Because almost everything had been killed by this war, and when the darkness came, he was even more afraid of the things that might see a body to raid. Now he was finally at the border. He couldn't go forward. He couldn't go back, and he couldn't stay still for fear of attack, and as those killers killed by night and day, innocent victims got in the way, that shrapnel right inside his head as he wondered if Mum was alive or dead. Cheers. People always say to me I'm good at cheering people up. But in all seriousness, just to add a little bit about that last one, we've now got more refugees than at any point since the Second World War, and it's not just Gaza and Syria and Ukraine and Iraq, and there's these wars coming in and out of the news, but the only thing that ultimately will stop a war is peace. And I know that seems almost like quite ideological to say, but if every one of us goes out and just spreads messages of peace, write something on a Tesco receipt and leave it on the bus or something, protest, sign petitions, boycott governments, things like that, we can eventually stop these wars and start peace and reduce the severity. So I'm certainly going to do that this weekend. We've got to keep fighting. We can beat these bastards. So